Hi there guys, it's me Ross back with another car pack this month, and this month is Top Gear's May car pack. I've been looking forward to this ever since they released details about it, because it has a random plethora of cars, from very little quirky smart cars to great big vans to a big off-road jeeps. It's just all there. It's all fantastic. I'm not going to be miserable at all during this. I'm going to be very nice and happy and very positive as well, which is all fun for those who don't like me ranting that much. First we start off with the 2010 Smart for 2, powered by a 70 horsepower, 3-cylinder, 1-litre Mitsubishi engine. Quite unusual that, because we have Mercedes safety with Japanese reliability, which is a winning combination in my book. I've never seen the Mitsubishi 3-cylinder engine used in this way anyway. I've never seen one actually on the road, so there we go. Round here all we see is tractors round here, you see. But the Smart for 2 itself is the interior I would best describe as bulletproof, because the plastics are so thick. I think that's the only thing weighing it down. It's very robust, so nothing's going to really break that easy. The exterior is livened up a hell of a lot by my mate CJ Rage's Red Bull niche paint job, which I like. It definitely livens up the car and highlights the best feature about it. Not quite sure what it is though, so let me know in the comments what you think the best feature of the Smart for 2 is, other than the fact that it is damn near indestructible when you crash it into a wall. The car drives very, well, odd, I'd say, because I've never driven a car that has characteristics like this. You get buckets of understeer, and then when you throw it into a corner with weight transfer, it has the most twitchy oversteer I've ever seen in a car. But that just makes the car more fun. I've never seen a car dance and pirouette like this thing, because it's so short. You can just spin it for about a day and a half and it just looks like it's dancing around the track. It's quite a fun car to drive, just to try out the different characteristics of very oddly shaped cars. And speaking of very oddly shaped cars, we shall now move on to the AMC Pacer, which has one door longer than the other on the same car. Very odd indeed.
Yeah, dudes, it's 1977 with the AMC Pacer, yeah!
Basically, it's the Mirthmobile from Wayne's World 2. Of course, they had to put this in the game just for comedic effect. Wayne's World was one of my favourite films, one of Mike Myers' first films, in fact, and it just so happened to star an AMC Pacer. Oh, the hilarity that ensued. The Mirthmobile is in Forza 4, and I can finally rest at ease. I am so happy right now. Basically, it's a 1977 Pacer AMC Pacer X. The X stands for the Sport Package that this ever received. The Sport Package was in air quotes, air finger quotes, because it's not a sporty car, is it? It's a hatchback with a great lumping straight 6 under the bonnet. It has a 4.2 litre straight 6 producing 100 horsepower. 128 horsepower if you're feeling lucky. I mean, it's not a performance car. I suppose you could make it into a performance car. Such a great looking car. The guy that painted it was a guy named It's Viper. I think it's a relatively cheap, if not a free paint job. So get your Wayne's World on and enjoy this car to its best and fullest. The X package basically means it's a trim package that consisted of vinyl bucket seats. Jelly suspension, no, that's optional, that came with the car as standard. Sport steering wheel, as if this could ever get any sportier. Custom trim, I suppose you could pick and choose what you wanted in the dealership. Floor mounted gear shifter, which we've had for quite a few years. I think the Lotus Cortina that we test later on has that. Front sway bar to keep the ride relatively stiff, but as you can see, it's not working at all. And some chrome features, as well as the Pacer X badge on the side of the car. Alright, let's move on to our next car, shall we? Right, here's our next car, guys. Well, I say next car, it's not really a car as speak. It's the 2011 Ford Transit Super Sport van. Yeah, that sounds odd coming off the tongue. It's a Ford Transit Super Sport van. Okay, I think I'm in line with the lunacy here. It's powered by a 3.2 litre 5-cylinder turbo diesel engine. And just to clarify, diesel works in vans and trucks. In motorsport, no. So take that for what you like. I'm being all lovely and happy right now because I know I'm right. And the Ford Transit gets off the line relatively sharpish because it has a diesel engine. All it does is grip. It doesn't spin as much as you'd think for having so little weight over the rear end, but it's such a fantastic van to drive. I'm glad they put it in the game, because the super sport vans of previous years, they've done a Supervan Mark 1, 2 and 3. They were basically midship V8 rocket cars, vans, and you couldn't really carry anything in them, like a bag of cement for instance. But for this supervan, well, it's not really a supervan. I think they're bridging the gap between this. This is a super sport van. You should be able to buy this. Why can't we buy this? You can carry commercial loads like you do. My brother's a plasterer. He does plastering for a living. He carries an awful lot of stuff with him. This van would be perfect for him because he loves to rag the living daylights out of his transit van. So yeah, somehow I think he won't need to rag this one as much to get the amount of power that he gets out of his. It's such a great thing. Builders all over the country rejoice because there is a powerful transit van that you can use on a daily basis. This has basically been turned into a touring car van. Lower to the ground, 19-inch split wheels, bigger brakes, lower suspension, stiffer suspension. It's a race car essentially. It's a touring car, which I think is fantastic. They turned a van into a touring car, and it's diesel as well, so you get lots of miles per gallons, all the eco goodness. And in the game to drive it is relatively fun as well. The only thing I do recommend is you put an LSD on it to stop the inside wheel smoking away, and so you lose all your power, which is kind of gutting really. But well, let's move on to our next car, shall we? Right, here's our next car, guys. It's the 1966 Lotus Cortina, powered by a 1.6 twin-cam straight 4 engine, producing 115 horsepower from, a 1.6 twin-cam, weighing just over 2,000 pounds. It's a cracking car. This is part of my heritage because I've always loved Lotus Cortinas. I've always liked the Cortina as a shape itself, up until around about the Mark V, where, you know, it ceased in production. But never mind, back to the car itself. The interior is very lovely, being an old style Cortina. Lots of vinyl plastic and polished aluminium, and lots of Lotus badges everywhere as well. In 1966, this car was entered into the British Touring Car Championship, and behind the wheel was the man himself, Jim Clark, the guy that this paint was based off, and he did very well in that series. He was racing against Camaros, Minis, Mustangs, everything from the continents, and everything from continental Europe, everything from America as well. And he finished 5th overall, doing quite well in the old Lotus Cortina. Obviously his one was a bit more tuned up than this one, but it still feels the same. I reckon half of this video should be in sepia tone. In the game it drives very, very well. Of course, being a 1966 car, you're going to end up with a lot of roll, but that just adds to the character of the car, because you slide it into a corner, the front end lifts up, but you know you've still got the grip to carry you through the corner. And the car has always had this very iconic paint job of a white body and a green stripe stretching from the front wings round to the back of the car. It's a very lovely car to drive, a bit twitchy at times, but being an old car, that's a necessity at the end of the day. It's one of my favourite cars to drive in this car park, other than the Transit van and the SRT8 as well. That's quite fun to drive as well. This is mid-range. This is more of a nostalgia aspect of a car. It's more fun to drive just for the feeling of it. And they've handled they've done the modelling and the handling of the game very well for this car. I've actually driven the Lotus Cortina, not to this extent, but it does handle pretty much similar, very similar. It was a great opportunity to drive one of these cars, and now we get to drive it in Forza as well. So yeah, let's move on to our next car, shall we? Right, guys, this is our last car in the part 1 of the two-part May Top Gear car pack. This is the 1965 Austin Healey 3000 Mark III, powered by a 2.9 litre straight 6, producing 150 horsepower, or thereabouts. They never really sort of nailed the figure down. About 147 in this game because they run it up on a dyno, so, you know, the age will depreciate the engine power eventually. But these cars are fantastic cars to drive. The interior is lovely and precise and very organised and OCD created. Wooden steering wheel, polished drilled aluminium, should I say. The exterior of the car, lots of shiny chrome work everywhere, and the wire wheels and the cross-ply tyres. This is the epitome of British sports cars because this car was released in 1959 and only lasted until 1967. That is not long, yet they still managed to panel beat out near enough 43,000 units of these cars. So 43,000 hand-built cars in that era is just an astonishing figure, and you can tell because the only way you could get that sort of archwork is if you panel beat it over a bit of wood, or you know, they didn't have the machines to fabricate things. You had to make it yourself in them days. So you can tell the car had a little bit of character even before it started. It's such a fantastic car to drive. And in this game, it's definitely worth a pickup because I think it's 50,000 credits in the game, maybe a bit more. It's a very rare car, so that's why the price is quite high. The handling characteristics in this game is like any sort of British roadster or any roadster in the game. A little bit tail happy because it's rear-wheel drive. Very sweet to drive. It's not too complicated to drive as well. I mean, you could throw it into a corner if you want to, you know, get a little play with the car, and it's great fun. No serious understeer. You know, it's always a little bit on the oversteery side. And it's just fantastic. I can't find a fault with this car. Maybe it's age and it's a bit arthritic engine, but you know, that's not what this car's about. Just keep driving it downhill. It's got plenty of power then. In this review I pretty much stayed in third gear because you can hear that lovely V6 engine being, you know, thrown around, and it's such a nice car. But that brings us to the end of part 1. Hopefully you liked it, and hopefully you've favorited as well. That would help us out a lot. Right, take care guys, it's been Ross.